Hey guys, welcome to the weekly analysis for the week of July 5th. I am dialing in from Europe right now, and it is 9:30 a.m. in here, and it is much earlier for me in the real time. So that is 2:30 in the morning, so you're going to be getting it fairly early on this time around. But what we're looking at right now is somewhat of a consolidation. So the Friday was quite an interesting one. It was a very volatile week. I think like all of these moves over the last couple of weeks have been quite sporadic without much catalyst going left, right, or center. So that's been quite interesting. You do see quite a bit of movement in here. And I do have a hypothesis around why that might be happening, and I'm going to be revealing it a little bit soon in just a few minutes. But what I'm thinking in here is that we do observe some of the rotations, we do observe some of the pullbacks. But let's take a look into the different sectors of what actually is going on. So I arranged all the sectors together. XLV naturally broke out. You've seen that before. On the weekly time frame, we actually have a massive cup and handle pattern. So you have the cup right here. Just make it a little bit different here. So you have a cup, you have a handle. We're breaking out from cup and handle, change of character. This is a projection move to about 200, and that is about 20% move. Very aggressive, very nice move potential in here with a relatively low risk rewards or low risk. So we're looking at about a 2.75% risk for a massive reward. So looking pretty good and interesting. Silver is similar to gold. We actually have a channel, and here we got to the low of the channel, and essentially we're bouncing from here on now. From all of the dramas perspective, we're still looking quite bullish, and gold is very similar as well as the copper chart. So no, doesn't necessarily add any additional value of looking into each one of them individually, but you can see that these channels are essentially popping up left, right, and center, a little bit less in the copper time frame, but we do have some equal highs in here and a continuation potentially, but it's sort of has, all of them have sort of have been stuck a little bit right now on the lows, and we will see how it is going to develop moving into the future. When it comes to XLU, that was the utilities, another rotation. We do have a flag in here formation starting to break out, but I'm not liking this candle right here. It's not especially strong one, so I'm not looking at it very seriously at this point. XLP, consumer staples, also we have quite a nice consolidation in here. Red squeeze, and the last candle, it still didn't break out, but we do have a little bit better candle in here. What's interesting for me is actually the XLF sector on the monthly time frame. We do have quite a nice consolidation. We actually had a pretty good pullback as well, and now coming to the top of the range, we're breaking out with a potential to go to about 60, 61, which gives you a very nice trade consolidation. So in the ideal scenario, what I want to see is a pullback in here for a second and then take off to go somewhat higher. On the opposite side of the spectrum, what we do have also is the SMH and SOxX. Not a good look. This is Harami candle in here on a monthly that's starting to form. This was bearish engulfing candle. We closed below to both 20T and 50T. So right now what we can see is a consolidation in this larger range in here, which can be quite aggressive on SMH. And SOxX does have a very similar structure. So another idea for around consolidation. This is a no-wick candle, so we probably are going to be revisiting it at some point. And in here we have the free white soldier. So this soldier is going to be acting as a resistance in here, but we do have quite a few resistances on the low, and we could sweep some of the candles in there as well. 10-year, we actually have been flagging and moving downwards. We're still above the moving averages in here. We just created the golden cross, but that being said, we haven't broken out from this flag formation and haven't moved higher. And I'm not sure if we actually will move higher, especially considering with all the news from Strait of Hormuz and the oil dropping quite rapidly. Speaking of the oil, we do have quite a nice drop, pretty much coming back to this window right here. The window still held, which is a little bit of a surprise, but that probably is because there's a little bit of uncertainty going on still. We do still have some liquidity around 63, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do go there. But for oil to move higher, we actually need to recover this 20T move. So another one to watch out for is DXY. So this is the dollar, and effectively on a monthly time frame, we have a 50 box. We broke out of it. We have a retest in the breakout spot right now. And that is a good opportunity to get in if you wanted to get in, because your risk and reward in here is 3.71, which is quite an amazing move for the dollar, as you might imagine. Okay, so now on M&Q, we do have quite a bit of rotation. Essentially, the money is rotating out of the semiconductors, which have been quite extended, and right now we do have the rotation into other sectors like XLF. So usually when you see something like that, is one of the major sectors is going up and the other major sector is going down. What that suggests is a consolidation on a larger time frame. As you can see in here in the weekly time frame, we're still in the bullish scenario for M&Q. We do have all the traumas lining up for an uptrend, and on a monthly, of course, we are still going to be, for some reason it says in downtrend, but it should be an uptrend because we have been rallying pretty much on the ongoing basis. Maybe it's not able to pick up, oh yeah, it's not able to pick up the 200T in here on the monthly. That's why it's given the wrong information. But on the weekly time frame, we're definitely in an uptrend. On monthly, we're definitely in an uptrend, and right now we are consolidating. So the big piece in here is the inclusion of SpaceX into NASDAQ. And that is happening on July 7th. So a few weeks back, I actually was thinking about the SpaceX and posted a few videos about it around how the money needs to rotate to accommodate SpaceX into NASDAQ. And the accommodation is equivalent to about 4 to 5% move. So that means that NASDAQ needs to sell off about 4 to 5% to actually include the SpaceX on July 7th. So with that, what we do observe is, I need to understand to know what price range is, but in here we go from here to here. That's about 5.5%. So it's quite an interesting coincidence, right? And at the same time, SpaceX itself has actually been holding on pretty nicely, especially on the over the last week. So we do have quite a nice candle. This is a Harami candle. If we do consider this level of reversal, we have a put wall at 150 on SpaceX right now, and we do have point of control at around 158. So there is a good chance that the money needs to rotate into SpaceX right now to support the price, and essentially going into July 7th, which is going to be around here. The next Tuesday, we should be able to reach 196 or 200 with some of the money that is being rotated, potentially even higher into SpaceX. So that naturally is going to put us to the high of the range, and then we will see how this is going to project. Right now, this looks like a 21 MA box. So if we're using the simple moving averages, that would be a 21 MA box. That could lead to continuation. But all in all, right now, for the next week, I'm seeing consolidation. From the perspective of economic events, I don't think we have. Yeah, we have the FOMC minutes as well as the manufacturing, and other than that, not too much else. No earnings, but we will have more earnings coming up in the following week, I believe. Yeah, we have the banks starting to report the following week on Tuesday. So Tuesday is going to be a big day from the SpaceX perspective. So quite an interesting and exciting stuff all in all. So now on to some individual names. Looking into Amazon, we still haven't broken this high just yet, well, potentially a little bit, but it's didn't close above it, so that still is a valid setup for a short in here. We did close above 20T right now, but 50T has been holding us downwards, so we will see if that actually is able to continue going down. Otherwise, setup is going to be invalidated. We looked into some of the financials on a weekly time frame. BRK.B looks great. We do have a nice consolidation. We have a flag in here breaking out of it, so there's a good opportunity essentially to enter pretty much right away and then put your stop loss right below this trend line, and we have about a 2R trade. T looks quite nice as well, and this one was pointed out by TZ charts. So in here we do have quite a bit of consolidation, and because this is a flag consolidation, as we're breaking out of it, once we pass through 59.18-ish, this is a projection upwards, and we have a 2R play in here. Align Technologies is another one of the names that has been consolidating. We do have a red squeeze in here, quite a bit of momentum coming in, equal highs, and that can provide us with a nice 2.5R move. We also are above the point of control and above 20T. XLRE is continuing to move from last week, so we do have a little bit of momentum in here. It's stalling. Did not like this candle right here, but we closed on the monthly time frame, but we still are like this candle from last week is pretty nice, the white one, but from week before the last one, and last week's candle is still quite bullish, so we'll see if that is able to push a little bit higher or not. U up is connected to the DXY and dollar, and you saw the retest in there, and now you're seeing the retest on U up, and you can actually write it all the way to the top. So So this time around, why don't we do this? And I'm going to show you some of the other setups that I have. That's the AAA setups. And maybe once in a while in the beginning of the month, I'll show you some of those setups that I'm targeting. So Carvana is another one of the shorts. We have head and shoulders in here, rejection from the 220T, and we still have a possibility of it moving forward to go into a short. We haven't had 62.23 trigger just yet, but once it does, then we can actually get into this position. Very good to risk and reward. SPCX, so SpaceX, already told you the idea in here. And one of the things that I also want to tell you is I actually have skin in the game in this setup already, which means that I took a small position on Friday as I noticed that there was quite a bit of strength coming into SPCX in comparison to NASDAQ. So from that perspective, I wanted to see if my trade idea actually plays out. And what that looks like to me is we essentially, where's the path? Go from here, go all the way here into July 7th, and then we sell lower. So this is the trade idea that I have, and for lower, I'm probably going to be targeting around 100, which is a good psychological number. So we'll see if this is how it's going to play out, and yeah, that's going to be an interesting day. Coca-Cola, nice breakout, and we have the breakup structure in here, very strong trauma on weekly, on daily time frame. On weekly, we also have a breakout from this consolidation. Projection of this consolidation gets us to about 90, and we do have about 2R trade. And then SOxX, this one triggered a few weeks ago right here, and we had an opportunity in here, but I did not take it. So now we do have this head and shoulders. We have change of character, break of structure. We have a retest of the head and shoulders, retest of the point of control, retest of the 20T, and we have a relatively nice movement of the candle on daily time frame, and on a weekly time frame it might be as a Harami, but we would have to go and see how that turns out. But currently it does look good for continuation. We have some equal highs at the top, and that's 3.61R type of play. So all in all, and that being said, I'm expecting to have quite a bit of chop going into July. What I also did, I looked into seasonality. So typically July is very seasonally bullish month. But if you look at the last couple of years, then you will notice that it hasn't been a very bullish month. And because, you know, I like to use recent history over and above the history that is coming from much further out, and you can say I'm using the traumas or exponential moving averages in here. What's my expectation is for July is that if we do go up, it probably is going to be a grind higher, or it is going to be triggered by some sort of catalyst. And the catalyst, of course, in July is going to be earnings. So even right now, thinking about the natural rotation into XLF, if you did see the XLF before, and that is because the earnings are coming up. Maybe we are going to be going for earnings first. So other than that, there was another one that I wanted to show you, and that is the comparison of XLE and USO. USO is the US oil fund, and then XLE is the oil services, and there's a difference between them too. If you look at the daily, you can see this comparison, and even on the weekly, there we have a rotation that came through at exactly 200T in here, where the oil actually went down, but oil services remained relatively strong, and in comparison they have continued to be strong. So if you look at the XLE, we did see a little bit of a break, but we're coming to all of the resistance area, and what we should be seeing right now in the ideal scenario is that this 200T is actually going to hold us and allow for a move upwards. If that doesn't happen, then the path of least resistance for this one is going to be lower. So we are watching this very carefully around how this is going to turn out all in all. So with that being said, this is all I have for you all, and let's see if the SpaceX thesis is going to play out. Cheers, y'all.